Oh! Job interviews. Job interviews are a nightmare, aren't they? Well, in this very special episode of the More Than English podcast, we're going into video. And I'm going to share with you one trick, one mindset to have before an interview, going into the interview to make sure you are more confident and in control of how you approach the interview and ultimately give your best performance. One trick, one thing to do, one mindset to have, because it's not just English, it's more than English. Let's go. Hey there, welcome to an all-new, very special episode of the More Than English podcast. I am your host and teacher, Jesse, from Sweed Academy, helping you get to the next level in English and in life. So, why is this episode very special? Because as you can see, we are doing a video format as well as the audio formats that you're used to on SoundCloud and iVoox, if that's how you pronounce it. And I'm trying to get on Stitcher and iTunes. If any of you are familiar with how to upload podcasts and things on those platforms, then please let me know, because this is a big learning curve for everything, right? So thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching or listening wherever you're listening from. This week is the first week back to a normal work week, right? Last week was Feria here in Sevilla. And if you don't know what Feria is, La Feria de Abril, it's the April Fair. And it's a week-long, basically, party. There is basically a neighborhood of five blocks by 5 blocks. And throughout each block, there are special tents that companies and groups of people and different groups rent for the week, and they prepare food and catering and drinks and music and dancing. It's just a big party throughout the entire week. And it's one of the biggest festivals and parties here in Seville. And if you're visiting Seville, I recommend visiting in March or April. That way you'd get to see Semana Santa, which I talked about in a previous podcast, and the April Fair. And those are two of the biggest festivals here in Seville. And if you visit in March, April time, you get both of those. 2 for the price of 1. You can't beat that, can you? But anyway, on to today's topic. What I want to share with you today is one simple trick and tip when you're approaching and preparing for a job interview. Now, I'm not talking about answering specific questions or how to answer what is your greatest strengths, what are your greatest weaknesses, how to answer these questions. You can find plenty of videos on that, and I'll put a link below to an article from The Muse. And this article is great because it gives you detailed explanations on how to answer 31 of the most common interview questions. So if you scroll down, you'll see they're broken down by question, right? Can you tell me a little bit about yourself? How did you hear about the position? What do you know about the company? Question after question. And in each question, it gives you a brief explanation of what they're probably looking for. And then if you click read more on each question, they have a more in-depth explanation, and they give you an example of how to answer the question. And it's a really great resource. This is one that I use for my classes, when I have a student who's preparing for a job interview or, needs to prepare for a job interview, this is the article that I use in our class too. And we just go down and prepare each question. But that's not what I'm going to do with you today. You can take a look at that article and check it out below. But today, I just want to talk about one major tip, just one, and it talks about the mindset going into the job interview, your state of mind, the way you think, how you think. And this tip will help two things. It will help you, one, feel more confident and comfortable when you go into the interview. It'll help you be less nervous, which, nerves can be a crippling thing. A crippling thing means something that just makes you basically inactive, right? Nerves can kill you, not literally, but figuratively, they can kill your interview. And so using this tip on the mindset will help you feel less nervous when going into the job interview. And it'll help you feel more confident and comfortable in the job interview. And as you know, confidence, if you can look more confident and seem more confident and be more confident, then people will see you as a better candidate, right? Generally, right? So the one tip that I want to give you is how to prepare going into the interview. And I want to let you know that I've done this. I've learned this from experience because this is kind of the approach that I've taken in the past 3 job interviews that I've had, right? So in the past 3 job interviews, I've had this mentality, this mindset, and it's helped me feel more confident, feel less nervous, and helped me give a great impression on the interviewers. And well, before I start, let me go back. That's what we say when we're going back to before the main point, right? Let me go back and letting you know that I do have 12 years experience now teaching at this point. So this isn't my first job interview. My first job interview, I was nervous, I was scared, I was trying to say the right answer, right? And like we all do. So, and I also didn't have anybody to tell me this tip. So maybe if I did, I would help. But anyway, the main tip that I want to share with you when doing this job interview is to approach it as if you already work there. Approach the job interview and have the mindset as you're going into the job interview, as you're waiting, have the mindset, have the mentality that you already have this job. You already work there and you're going into a company meeting or a team meeting or a meeting with your boss or manager. This helps a lot, right? So it helps with your nerves before the job interview. It will help in your performance during the job interview, and it will help in your confidence after the interview's finished. And let me give you an example. So many people, when they go into a job interview, they're waiting outside to be called in or whatever your situation is. And it kind of feels like you're a lamb going into the slaughter. A lamb going into the slaughter. What do I mean by that? We use this term when, for example, in sports, in fighting, remember back in Mike Tyson, the Mike Tyson era, and you look at old Mike Tyson videos, his opponents looked incredibly nervous, incredibly scared, because you knew and they knew and Mike Tyson knew that they were just a lamb going into the slaughter. They were just a future victim, right? And that's how we think going into job interviews sometimes, right? We think, oh, they're going to hate me. I'm going to forget all of my English. I'm going to forget my job. description, my job title, what I do, I'm going to forget everything, right? So this trick, going into the job interview like you already work there and they are your employers and coworkers that you're talking to, you're just going into a job meeting. That way you'll feel more comfortable and confident when performing. Okay, I've done this in my last 3 job interviews and it's helped me a lot. Let me give you an example of what I did. So I went in there. Let me talk about one meeting, look, I called it a meeting, one interview in particular. I went in and it was, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I don't really remember, but I was listening to what they were saying. I wasn't trying to think of the right answer. I was giving my experiences, my opinions, my way of teaching, because there were teaching jobs, my philosophy of teaching, right? And I was listening to them about the scheduling and the procedure and how things are run, right? And I was asking them questions. This particular job was at a big company teaching their employees English. So it wasn't at a school, it was a different dynamic. So I was asking them questions like, can I give them homework? Do we give exams? Things like that. I was giving actionable questions, active questions. And that made a big impression on them. And another thing that I did, as they were giving me information and telling me the procedure of how things work, in my mind, I had already worked there. I was working there and this was a team meeting. So as they give me information, I have to know this stuff. So I said, just a second, can I write this down? And I took out a notebook and started writing down what they were telling me as far as the scheduling and everything that I needed to know. That was very impressive to them. And in that job, I think I beat out 20, 24 candidates. They chose me, and which was very impressive because they weren't even looking for an American teacher. They wanted a British teacher. So that worked. Because why? I was less nervous. I wasn't really nervous going in there. I was just asking them questions as if I already had the job. And it just helped me present myself more like myself instead of just another interviewee, right? Let me tell you about my last job interview. Again, it was to interview to teach at a big company, to teach their really bosses and managers English. And I went in and again, I had approached it as if I already worked there because I have 12 years experience. I have experience in schools and in businesses and online. That's what I do. So I was just sharing with them what I did. And again, asking them questions, answering questions, but answering them from the heart, right? Answering them with real questions. A lot of people try to go into job interviews memorizing the right answer. Do you want to hear that? Like when let's imagine you're on a date, right? And you're sitting across from the other person. Maybe it's a first date, or maybe it's your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. Do you really want to hear their version of what they think the right answer is if you ask them a question? So, tell me about your family. Yes, well, I have a mother and a father and 2 younger sisters. We're kind of close. And do you want to hear that? No, you want to hear real, and you want to hear what's in the heart, what the real person is thinking. Same thing in an interview, because it's the same thing in a meeting, right? You want to really present your ideas, really tell them what you think, really present yourself to give the best results for your company and for your manager, to give them the best of yourself, basically, right? And this mindset, this mentality, this state of mind will really help to act like you already have the job and approach it like a team meeting. Now, if you think that this sounds arrogant, you might be saying, Jesse, that sounds very arrogant and cocky. I don't think I should go in like I already have the job and strut around like, yeah, I already have this job. Let me ask you this. In your job, are you going to approach your team meetings like that? Are you going to approach a meeting with your boss like that? Probably not. If you do, you probably won't work there very long, right? So if you think this sounds arrogant and cocky, just think, how would you approach a real team meeting? Would you approach that arrogant and cocky? I don't think so. I hope not. But you would approach it as if you're just sharing ideas and you're giving your opinion and you're trying to help achieve the goal, help achieve the accumulative goal of the business or the company or the team or the project or whatever it is. So use this mindset the next time that you have a job interview. Approach it like you already work there and you're just going into a team meeting. And let me know how it works. Let me know if it helps calm your nerves down, if it helps you perform better, and let me know if it works. And let me know if it doesn't work. But if you would like one-on-one practice, if you would like a one-on-one attention and classes, then go to sweedacademy.com/services. And there you can see links to one-on-one training. You can see links to my courses, and consider becoming a participating member. If you're a participating member, you get to, well, help out and help Sweed Academy grow and improve and get better. But also, you get access to all of our courses. You get discounted prices for the one-on-one classes, and you get access to our private Facebook group where we can chat. I give you personalized attention, and you can do homework assignments in there. So consider becoming a participating member, and I will love you forever. So I love you forever anyway. But thank you for listening. How'd you like this video format? I think I like it. I think I like this video format. But let me know how you like it. Let me know if it works. And now let's go and look at some of the expressions and vocabulary a little closer that I used in this episode. And let's do that right now. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that video format, the new video style of podcast. Please let me know in the comments if you did enjoy it, if you prefer the video version, because I will do those more. I certainly enjoyed doing it. So thank you for listening. And as you saw in the opening, that scream, no! So you may have been wondering why I did that. Well, because basically I forgot to hit the record button the first time that I recorded it. I did this exact same podcast just before, and what you saw is when I realized that I forgot to press the record button. So when I thought that I pressed stop, I was actually pressing record, and that's what you saw. I noticed that I pressed record. That meant that I didn't record the previous podcast. And you know, when you do something the first time, I was very happy with it. It was better than the version you heard, actually. But I was very happy with it, and then realized it was lost forever. Not even lost, it was just never captured. So hence the scream. But I recorded it again, I re-recorded it, and you just got to move forward, right? These things happen. But let's take a look at some of the vocabulary words and expressions from this episode. So first, I said learning curve. I said that please let me know, because this is a big learning curve. If you have any tips on putting things up on Spotify or Stitcher or iTunes, please let me know any good tricks and tips, because this is a big learning curve. We use big with it. It's the time that it takes to learn something. If something is difficult to learn, it has a big learning curve, right? So a learning curve. It takes a while to get good at, to understand fully. Next, I was talking about the space in Feria, and it's this 5 block by 5 block space. And a block is the space in between two streets, right? It's normally like 50 meters or 100 meters, something like that. Maybe a space in between two streets in like a city space, in a city area. So 5 blocks by 5 blocks means that it's 5 blocks across and 5 blocks up. So it's like a square. If it were 3 blocks by 5 blocks, it would be like a rectangle, right? And this works with, we use the word by when talking about the two different directions of space. So if a rectangle is 5 centimeters by 3 centimeters, right? An area is 5 kilometers by 2 kilometers. That's a long rectangle, right? Maybe your house, your kitchen is 3 meters by 4 meters, for example. Next, I used the Fluency Builder. It's just a big party. I could have said it's a big party, but it just adds a more relaxed feel, maybe. It's just a big party. So use it's just as a Fluency Builder to kind of de-emphasize importance in a way. Next, you can't beat that. You can't beat that. Follow my pronunciation too. You can't beat that. I mean intonation. You can't beat that. 2 for the price of 1. You can't beat that, can you? And I added an extra element. The question tag. Note my intonation. 2 for the price of 1. You can't beat that, can you? Can you? Intonation down. I could have said, you can't beat that, can you? That would be a question. But you can't beat that, can you? Going down. Next, nerves can be a crippling thing. Crippling is something that causes you to not be able to move. So if somebody is crippled, it means their one leg or both legs don't work well or at all. So they're crippled. They can't move or can't move well. So nerves can cripple you. Cripple is a verb. Crippling is the adjective. Nerves can be a crippling thing. Next, to give or to make a great impression. It's always important to make a good first impression. A good impression, you could say to give a good impression too. Next, I said, let me go back. This is kind of a Fluency Builder or expression. Let me go back. And I want to emphasize the let me. You see on this one and the next expression, I started with let me. Let me go back and let me give you an example. We say let me to sound more friendly, right? It's a more polite way. You're kind of asking permission. It sounds like you're asking permission, but you're not. All right, let me go back and let you know that I have 12 years experience at this point, right? Let me go back. That means go back in the story. Next, an era. An era is a certain time period. We're in the technology era. And I mentioned in the podcast, think back at the Mike Tyson era. We could go back further, the Muhammad Ali era. In basketball, the Michael Jordan era. Something that a time period is labeled by a certain thing. Next, a lamb going into the slaughter. It feels like you're a lamb going into the slaughter. Sometimes we feel like a lamb going to the slaughter before a job interview. And a lamb is a baby sheep. So, and a slaughter is when you kill it, right? For food normally, or clothes, or sacrifice, I guess. But a lamb going into the slaughter, when you feel like a lamb going into the slaughter, you feel like a victim, a future victim, right? And that's how we feel before job interviews many times. Next, I said, in my mind, I had already worked there. So in my mind, if you're talking about in your mind, in my mind, I had already worked there. So the way I thought, in my mind, use that expression. In my mind, I had already worked there. In my mind, I'm already successful, right? Use that. That's powerful. Next, to beat or to beat out. This means to win against an opponent, but we can use the word win. It depends on what you're talking about. So you beat another team or you beat an opponent, but you win a competition. You win a game. You beat an opponent, you win a game. I used beat out here. I made it a phrasal verb because I beat out more than just one person. I beat one person. I beat out many competitors, right? I won against many competitors. In this case, I think I beat out 24 candidates, right? Many. So I add beat out because it's not just one person. Next, if you say something from the heart, you're doing it genuinely, right? I was answering them from the heart. I was answering them sincerely, real answers. And finally, your mindset, your mentality, your state of mind, that's all the way you think, right? And we want to control our mentality. We want to control our state of mind. We want to control our mindset. These are all good words and they're very similar to each other. Good words to use and learn to talk about the way you think. So these are the expressions from today's episode. Again, let me know if you enjoyed it. Let me know if you prefer the video format or just the presentation, the PowerPoint format. And let me know your biggest tip to approach job interviews. What's the biggest thing, the most important thing that you can think about when approaching job interviews and going on job interviews? Let me know that in the comments below. Don't forget to follow and subscribe wherever you're listening to this, and visit Sweed Academy for a lot more resources. Remember, I do a live session every Wednesday and Friday. Be sure to join me there, and a podcast every Thursday. So that's it for me. I'm out of here. Remember, do something good for somebody before they can do it for you. Pay it forward. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.